Hi, Bryan. Thank you so much for finding the time and sharing with us. I'm so excited to talk to you today about your health journey and what you're up to. Tell everybody a little bit about you and your journey. Like, what started you into the health and wellness, or have you always been an athlete and always been into the health and wellness?
Yes. Well, first, thank you, Linda. Thank you for inviting me on your podcast. I'm honored. I really love doing things like this. And I could already tell this is going to be a beautiful conversation. I was born an athlete. I'm a true mesomorph. There's three body types. The one in the middle is the mesomorph. From the moment my mom said that I started walking at 8 months, she said, and your terrible twos lasted till you were 5. She said, you were moving and I could never control you. She said, you wouldn't even be in the stroller. You wanted out of the stroller. And it's funny because my son, who's 24, was the same way. So there are those true types. So I've been an athlete my whole life, and I've always been in shape my whole life. People think, oh, you're a fruitarian, that's why you're so ripped. And I'm like, actually, even when I was 25 pounds heavier, I still look like this. I've always had this body. I was born with this. God gifted me this.
Nice. My son is also 24 and he's been an athlete and
Cool.
always in the gym and trying to actually get bigger, but he's always into vegetarian and just eating, more ethically, and which inspires me beyond. Like, he's so inspiring. And so we're both fascinated with the fruitarian diet and very interested to hear more about it. I had heard of it before from a spiritual coach friend in Thailand who talked about there's breatharians and fruitarians. So please share about the fruitarian. How long have you been a fruitarian?
3 years and 9 months.
Wow.
Wait, 3 years, 8 months, something like that.
Okay.
Fifth is my 4 year anniversary.
So what does this mean? You never eat anything other than a piece of fruit,
I,
or
I wouldn't say never, because when you're on the fruit journey, the detox can get pretty severe sometimes. There could be times where I've eaten fruit all day and I'm still hungry. And sometimes I'll have a salad, but I don't really, after I eat the salad, I don't really enjoy it. I'm like, I needed to eat something more dense, but it's never as enjoyable as the fruit would have been. And then I'll have nuts. And it's the same thing. As soon as I take a step down, because I consider anything under fruit a step down, not bad, just a step down from a higher vibrational lifestyle. Because every food other than fruit requires insulin. So that means your body has to burn energy to break down the food, whereas fruit, you gain the energy from the fruit because it's water and light. They're biophotons. And fruit was meant to be eaten. The plant grew the fruit so the hominid or the animal would eat it, ingest the seeds, then defecate somewhere in the forest, and the plant would grow again. And they'd be able to spread their seeds. Whereas every other food, you have to cook it or you have to season it in order for it to taste good. And you don't have to do that with fruit. Every other food, who wants to eat spinach salad without anything on it?
right?
You're not going to sit there and eat leaves.
Yeah, I love vegetarian diet. I love fruit, and I was vegetarian for 3 years. I'm getting back into it. And when you walk into the grocery store and see this huge section of colorful, beautiful, God created fruit, I'm like, why? There's no reason to take a life of an animal just because. I mean, to me, it's like there's so much food, right? There's so much food. That was always my like thing. And then I always would say, like, what's the difference between a cow and my dog? There's zero difference. Nobody can argue with that just because there's no difference. They just look different. It's like discrimination. One sleeps in the bed and then one gets, sent off to be killed. But anyway, so what got you into doing the fruitarian? What made you start it?
Great question. So 5 years ago, I had gone to see an acupuncturist who was highly recommended. She's from Eastern Europe, Poland, and she's a very, very stern woman, gifted though, been an acupuncturist for 30 years already. They nicknamed her the healing hand. So my first session with her, she said, "You're burning up inside. Guys like you have a heart attack in their 60s and die." And I was like, "What? That's what you're telling me?" Just from listening to my pulse and looking at my tongue, I'm like, "Look at me. How could you say that?" But now I was still ego driven. I felt like everything on the outside looked great. Everything on the inside must be great. And I had already been vegan for 5 years, but cooked vegan. So I was born to a woman who smoked her whole pregnancy, who didn't breastfeed me. So I was bottle fed. And then I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with a smoker for 18 years. And then I grew up, we didn't have a lot of money, so I ate nothing but processed foods. So she was looking at my body from the time I was born. And I didn't understand any of that because I wasn't read in. I didn't know that side of life. So after about a year, I kept telling her that my hands would get cold in the winter. And she said, you have Raynaud's disease. That's a circulation issue. And I said, "Well, I can heal that, right?" And she said, "Well, you're older now. Your blood's drying out as you get older. I don't really think so. We can help you from it getting worse." And I had already healed myself from 2 herniated discs, fully healed them. Spine, the discs can grow back. So I left her. Even though I felt like she was a great acupuncturist, I didn't want anybody telling me that I couldn't heal. So that energy was not for me. So I found a different acupuncturist, referred from my chiropractor, and this guy's a Qigong master. He's Chinese, and he's been doing acupuncture his whole life. So my first session with him, he asked me why I left her, and I told him what she said, and he very wonderfully had his hands like this, and he said, "I agree with her assessment." And I was like, "Are you kidding?"
Wow.
I've been seeing her for a year and a half, and I haven't gotten any better. And I'm like, "Well, I'm missing something." So I started to look online, and I found Dr. Sebi, right? Because when you start to search for things, I'm a manifester. That's what my human design says. So I manifested Dr. Sebi, and then I found Dr. Morse, and I started watching all of Dr. Morse's videos about fruit. And I was like, "Well, I love fruit. I don't eat enough of it. If fruit is the only food on the planet that can heal me, then I'm going to go for it, because I'm a wrestler by trade. I've been wrestling since I was 14. So I have unwavering discipline." So I decided to do it. I told my acupuncturist, the Qigong master, I'd already been seeing him 8 months. I told him I was going to do it. He said, "I don't think you should do this." And I said, "Why, Dr. Meng?" He said, "Because you need protein. You work out a lot." I said, "Dr. Meng, I've already been vegan for 5 years. I gave up flesh 5 years ago, and I'll never touch flesh again." And he said, "Okay, just make sure you eat more. You eat a lot." So after a month, he listened to my pulse, and I was going to him every week. And he said, "Wow, you're changing rapidly. This diet's working for you. You should stay on it, and I'm learning from you." So then 10 months into the diet, which was right before COVID hit in Manhattan, he said, "Bryan, what you've done with your body is nothing short of remarkable. I've never seen anything like it." He said, "Not only have you reversed all of your kidney disease," and he used that word. I was told just by listening to my pulse and looking at my tongue that I had kidney disease, right? Because when you go to the doctor and they tell you you have diabetes, you have cancer, you have rheumatoid arthritis, you had it already. You had it for months, for years already. You were already manifesting that issue. You didn't need the doctor to tell you. It was already growing inside of you. You were already acid. So he said, "Not only have you reversed all of your kidney disease, but you're now strengthening your primordial chi energy." He said, "And that's almost impossible at your age." So
Now
then
tell
COVID,
us what that is. What did you say? The prom, what is it?
so your kidneys in Chinese medicine are the most important organ in your body because they eliminate and they create a triangle with your heart. So the kidneys give your liver the liver is wood, heart is fire. So your kidneys give your, I forgot how it goes, but your,
Basically, they give a message to the
yeah,
liver to eliminate.
yeah, no, the kidneys are the elimination, and then they give the message to the liver to detox the blood. And then the liver is going to make sure that the heart's not burning. It's got enough energy. And he said, not only have you reversed your kidney disease, but you're strengthening your primordial chi energy, which is your dantian. So your power center, which is 2 inches below your navel. So then COVID happened. I didn't see him for 10 months. And when I went back, he said, wow, you've gotten better. Have you had any work done? I said, no, not at all, but I haven't been able to go out. So I've been eating nothing but fruit. And he said, Bryan, this is incredible. You're getting younger. He actually said to me, you are getting younger. So I call it youthing.
Okay, so you sold me, and I'll be starting this diet very soon because I need to, a lot of reasons, release the extra weight and just try something different. This sounds really, really good. Go ahead. May I ask, what did you initially go to the acupuncture for? Like, were you just wanting energy, like a shift, or what brought you to the act? Like, what made you keep going? Just because you're not into the traditional medicine, which I'm not as either, actually.
Well,
And
I've
I
been seeing a network chiropractor for 5 years, and he was always recommending I should have acupuncture done. And it finally took me a while, and then I started.
like to
Now,
I've done it before as well, but was it for pain management kind of thing? Like a
yeah, I was riddled with joint pain everywhere because I've been an athlete my whole life, and I had eaten processed foods and meat for 42 years. And that stuff doesn't go away. You're a strainer. You have to think of your body like a strainer, and everything you put in it damages it. And if your kidneys aren't functioning, everything you put in your body is going to age you. Everything that doesn't belong there is causing damage, but we don't feel it. We're like, oh, 1 coffee a day, that's moderation. No, no, it's battery acid.
toxin,
It's
toxic.
acid. It's toxic. So you drink coffee for 30 years, and all of a sudden you have irritable bowel syndrome, or you have Crohn's disease or colitis. Well, that's why you have it.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. Good information. So tell us about the breath work, because that's what you are all about too. And I'm really, really interested in the
Yeah,
benefits of it and you can, how we can benefit from that and all
that's
of
why I
the,
wore my shirt
yeah.
for you today.
Pardon? Oh,
That's why I wore my shirt for you today. Breathing with Bryan, superhuman. I got a
oh,
little nose, and
that's
then in the
great.
back has my website.
Nice, nice.
I don't do breath work. I train my breath. Breath work is like, it's that terminology that people are overusing these days. So you train your breath. So I do restorative breath training for people. I assess their breathing, and then I give them breathing exercises specifically for their own style of breathing and any irregular breathing patterns that they have, that they present. And your breath, obviously, is the most important aspect of your physical body, but you wouldn't know that if you went to a Western trained doctor, because they don't test your airway, and they don't test your threshold of carbon dioxide, which is everything in life. So the breath training that I do, we do this test called the controlled pause. It's the BOLT score. And BOLT is an acronym that stands for Body Oxygen Level Test. And it's to test to see what your threshold to carbon dioxide is. So right now I'm in Utah. I'm at 7,000 feet of elevation, and most people would feel altitude sickness. At 2,500 feet, people feel altitude sickness. But I don't feel any altitude sickness because I have a high threshold to the CO2. So CO2 is not a waste gas. That's a lie, a blatant lie. There's nothing wasteful about it. My body makes CO2. If my body makes it, it's not waste. When I breathe out, that's just the excess metabolism. I don't call it waste. It's just excess that my body needs to remove in order to allow the oxygen coming in to go into the mitochondria to produce energy. The neural drive to breathe is to exhale, not to inhale. You're not alive to breathe in, you're alive to remove the excess so you can bring the energy in. So you have to think about that with food too. Everyone's like, what can I take to be healthier? No, what should you eliminate first to be healthier? Because if you don't work on eliminating the storage of the acids in your body, it doesn't matter what you take that's healthy because you're putting it on top of a strainer that's not working very well.
Yes, I saw an analogy once where they take a glass and they have like soda in it, and then they add some clean water or something. You need to clear out the old before you put the new. Otherwise, it's still just mucky or something like that. Um, so when did you start into the breath? How do we call it? It's not the breath work, because breath work is, like you said, it's now the new like yoga, and people have
Right.
meditation and then breath work, but you call
Yeah.
it, so you're
Breath.
training you're training like trainers and fitness instructors. I saw that with on your website and all that regarding the breathing, but I wanted to learn, like, I'm sure there's a ton of benefits, including stress relief and all kinds of benefits to breathing properly. And then I
When you
had,
train your breath, the thing that happens most is the decreasing of the stress response. All of us have some form of adrenal fatigue because we've all experienced stress in our life. And the stress doesn't go away if you're not doing anything to remove the stress. The signal stays there. So when you train your breath, the first thing you're going to do is become parasympathetic. It doesn't mean that you're going to be asleep on the sofa all day. It means that you're going to be calm. You're going to be breathing low. You're going to be breathing slow, and you're going to be breathing deep. Deep does not mean filling your lungs. That is not a deep breath. A deep breath means breathing in effortlessly and silently so that the diaphragm opens down. So the breath breathes down. And the word deep means far from the top. So as the air enters my nose, I breathe horizontally in my face, even though it looks like we breathe up, but the canals in your face go straight back. Your brain is up here. You can't breathe into your brain. They go straight back. So you breathe horizontally. And when you breathe horizontally without any noise, you breathe deeply. Your diaphragm opens down. And as the diaphragm fully activates, you pull more air into your lungs. Your lungs don't breathe for you. They filter the air. They're for gas exchange. So you immediately, within 2 weeks, you start to feel much different. So I coach people I have a 6-month program, but most people continue because you can't really become a great breather in 6 months. You can learn everything you need to learn about breathing in 6 months in my course, but it takes time to become a great breather, and people generally don't want to stop. It's like, I used to be a personal trainer, and I still do sometimes. I was a personal trainer for 30 years, but I've never had more satisfaction with anything other than the breath because I get people from all walks of life. I have NFL players, Olympians, moms with 3 children, people with asthma, people with cancer, people with diabetes. So breath training means that you train the person to breathe the way they're designed to breathe, which overcomes the physical issues.
Right.
Because every physical issue is a breathing issue. Because if we're breathing outside of our capacity, then we're either alkaline of the blood or we're acid. And everything in life is a sweet spot. So the sweet spot in your blood pH is 7.365. That's another thing the doctor doesn't test. How would you know if I am having a precursor to a blood disorder if you don't test my blood? You're testing markers, but you're not testing the pH of the blood. And breathing determines the pH of the blood.
So do you think that you can thank you for all of that. That's so valuable and you're just sharing so much. Do you think we can basically heal most everything in the body ourselves through diet and breathing?
Not most everything, everything. Through breathing first and diet second. Oh, you asked me when I got into it. So this month is my 5-year anniversary. And so I've been a fruitarian for almost 3 years, 9 months. So I was on the breathing journey for a little over a year, like almost a year and 4 months. And I feel like the breathing helped me restore my blood chemistry, which then made me manifest a higher vibrational diet. Because my
Nice.
blood pH was restored, my brain waves slowed down and I started to look for something that was going to help me on a deeper level, on another level. Maybe not deeper because breathing is the deepest, but on another level. So now I marry fruitarianism, raw food lifestyle with breathing. I don't recommend, I don't not recommend, I don't tell my students they have to be fruitarian. I recommend that they try to go 50% raw, 50% cooked, because most people are eating cooked food. And then as they restore their blood chemistry, they start to eat cooked food, then they train their breath and they go, oh, geez, I can't breathe better. Every time I eat something that's acidic, I train my breath, it doesn't go very well. And then they go, oh, that's interesting. The food is negatively impacting how I feel,
Oh yeah. Yeah, my
which people
son.
don't really
Oh,
realize, you
when
know?
when my son started eating meat again, including myself, but I mostly noticed it with him, it was like he was more angry. He was not yeah, I don't know why it just switched. Um he noticed it and it's a long story, but he came so I moved to Florida in April and he moved to Florida in August. And at that time when he was here, he was eating animals. And I was like, who is this guy? Like it wasn't even the same guy. And so we had I just kind of had a sort of communicative semi confrontation with him about like boundaries and different things and how I was feeling. And then he just said, you know what? Let's not eat I'm not gonna eat this anymore, I'm not gonna eat he, like,
Oh,
immediately knew, yeah, and then we both went vegetarian, and it's like he was a different man again, and then I said, "Listen, we don't need to label ourselves, like, you eat what
right.
because
No
some
label.
people yeah, and sometimes the body may need something, and if it's maybe grass-fed or, just I don't want all these rigid,
Right.
limitations, so anyway, the point is, like, when he starts eating fish or something, he goes and eats a ton of it, like, really and I'm like, "You know why you're doing that? I feel like you're doing that because you know you're gonna stop eating it and you wanna get it." It's like but anyway, he's
Yes.
vegetarian. I'm going back to it because I feel my best this way. Like, I it raises my vibration and my consciousness and my consciousness like, I walk dogs at the shelter, I did it yesterday for a little bit, and it's
Best
just
friend does that.
pardon?
My best friend does that.
Yeah. And well, my dog is a rescue. I've had dogs for 30 plus years, but this dog is extra special and he's a true rescue that came. I fostered him and he came from a shelter in Texas. I got him in Michigan when I was living there. And anyway, he's just so different than all my other dogs in so many ways. And anyway, I just feel called to do it. And when I moved here, it turns out there's a rescue. Literally, I could walk there. That's how close it is. So
Wow.
God planted me here. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and it's a beautiful place. So they're doing really good for these dogs. And but back to what I was saying is the diet, it really does affect you. I mean, there's other people that seem to be fine eating that way, but I feel like I'm more spiritual. For me, it's spiritual to eat cleaner, I mean, eat vegetarian because I'm just more connected to source. Like I feel when I don't know, it's just it truly affects how I feel, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And my son as well. We both notice it. So it's
Well, you
definitely a
probably
spirit.
notice it because when you eat meat, you're ingesting adrenaline and cortisol because there is no way you can humanely slaughter an animal because their consciousness knows they're about to be killed. And this is a fact. The Heart Math Institute in Wisconsin has done massive studies, and they put people in front of a computer screen, and a picture will come up on the screen, but their heart was resonating to the picture 6 seconds before the picture came on the screen. So if it's a depressive picture, the heart's already responding before the person sees it because there's God. And that's your super conscious. That's your higher self.
Yeah.
And your higher
Intuition.
self,
Your intuition.
yes, will always try to steer you in the right way, but then the pH of your blood will prevent you from choosing the right path. And well, I shouldn't say the right path because there is no right or wrong. There's only right action. So if you decide to eat meat, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not bad. You're not judged. God's not
Right.
judging you. Nobody should judge you. But there is a more beneficial way to consume energy, and that's by eating raw food and doing no harm and leaving no trace. I
Yeah.
went, excuse me, Linda. I went hiking here in Utah and I saw an animal carcass and I was like, oh, there's cougars here. So I immediately stopped and I went like this and I said, I place a protective golden shield around my force field and I'm here to do no harm and leave no trace. And I thank you to all the animals. And I knew that nothing bad would happen to me
That's
because
great.
the vibration and intention, and they'll feel it, they'll steer away.
Yeah, that's great. I had a question about when you were talking. What the heck was it? I'll edit this out.
I like your glasses, by the way. I love
Oh,
the,
purple, thank you. You're the only one on the planet who's complimented them. Um, it was about, oh my goodness, eating. It was definitely about the eating. Okay, we'll go to the next.
well, I think it's important to realize too that when you stopped putting the adrenaline and the cortisol in your body, you felt better, right? Because
Absolutely.
we were
Yes.
taking on that stress. That's what
Oh,
we
I
were.
know. I'm sorry. I remember now. I have to tell you before it goes out, but hopefully when I change my diet, I'm going to have better with my memory. It is about, do you take any, is there any product like a protein powder that's vegan and gluten-free and clean? Is there anything that you're supplementing with?
Yeah. I was hoping that question would come up. So watch this. I'm going to reach down and I'm going to pick up this bottle. And this is marine phytoplankton by a company called Ascended Health. Now, I do promote their products, but I'm not going to benefit from it because all of your listeners can go on ascendedhealth.com and they can purchase it. And I'm not getting any kickback from it because I'm telling everybody out there, this is what I do. Now, on Instagram, I tell people marine phytoplankton is the first living organism created by light, sound, vibration, and of course, God. So it has all the building blocks of life. Every living being, species on this planet came from this organism. So when it was created by light, sound, and vibration, there was an organism floating in the ocean. It's 80% of the biomass of the ocean. The ocean's plasma is almost identical to ours. So rebuilding my blood with this. It's got all the essential fats, so I don't need to take fish oils. It's got all the essential amino acids. Now, this is big. If I put all the essential, it's got all the amino acids plus all the essentials. If I put all the essential amino acids in my body, then those are the monomers, the building blocks that make proteins. So I cut out the middleman, just like the animals do. The animals that are big and strong don't eat other animals to be big and strong. They're eating grass, they're eating plants because they're herbivores, and they have multiple stomachs to digest the plants, which humans don't. I'm sorry, but humans are frugivores. Doesn't mean we can't eat other things, but we are not anything other than a frugivore. So then it has all the vitamins. It's loaded with chlorophyll, so it's got the entire B complex in it, and it has almost all the minerals. So in order to get my minerals, I take Quinton seawater. This company's been around since 1897, and they source their water from pristine waters. So now it's got all the minerals. And it just so happens that the man who makes this product grows his phytoplankton in this seawater. So everyone can go out and buy Quinton, or maybe it's this way, Quinton, Quinton, and they can order the marine phytoplankton. There's no way to mention me, so it doesn't matter. I want everybody to be healthy. I don't need to make money off them. That's why I have a business.
Thank you. That's nice.
And then after you, I'm going to break my intermittent fast and I'm going to eat an entire cantaloupe, which is very juicy right now. And I can't wait.
Nice. So you do intermittent fasting every day?
Yeah, I always go 14 hours, but I try to go 16.
That's great. You are such an inspiration, and I am loving this conversation and so grateful for it. And I'm just so excited for this platform to be able to share and spread this kind of message to the masses. And so what can people do today to elevate their, so you you link it with elevating consciousness, right? Like you said, you're a manifester, I'm a manifester, and I mean, it is health also, but I feel like it's also elevating consciousness. But what can people do today to get healthier, like right now? What can they do?
What can they do? They can, number one, breathe through their nose at all times and never breathe through their mouth. I don't care who out there, your meditation teacher, your physio, if anybody tells you to breathe through their mouth, they're wrong, because there's nothing physiological about the mouth that correlates to breathing.
Okay, I have a question before I forget that was planned. How do you breathe when you're lifting weights? Through the nose? Because you said never the mouth. So, what is the correct way to be breathing when you're working out?
Is to never hold your breath unless you're doing, max loading. Then you don't hold your breath. You breathe the entire time you're working out. I don't work out to get big anymore. I work out to stay in shape and to stay fit. As I told you, I'm 25 pounds lighter. All that muscle is actually not good for you. It's not muscle, it's the muscle holding on to pus and mucus. The bigger you get, the more pus and mucus you have. They don't
Interesting.
realize that. Your fat cells, you don't gain fat cells, they get bigger, they get smaller. What happens is your body starts to produce pus and mucus from foods that don't belong in your body. So then in order to keep it away from the organs, it puts it into a fat cell, it puts it into a muscle cell. And then when people start to get ill, that's because there's too much acids, there's nowhere for the body to put it, and now it starts to corrode the organs. And you're basically rusting from the inside out, which is called oxidative stress. So breathe through your nose at all times. And then the second thing is you shouldn't be eating more than twice a day because your ancestors didn't, and they thrived. People said, oh, the ancient people, they only lived till 40, they had hard lives. No, there are plenty of geologists that have found bones of people that were 200 years old. You know, your body can live indefinitely. It depends on what you put in it. It depends on your stress levels, and it depends on how you're breathing. I mean, Noah was 900 years old. You know, there was a Chinese man who was 256 years old, and they have confirmed, because every 50 years, the Chinese government sent him a letter of authentication. And all he did was live on herbs and tea and, plants and fruits. So you can live indefinitely, provided you don't overload your system. So eat twice a day, because you don't need more than that. You don't even need more than twice. You don't even need more than once. And you don't even need once, really. Right? We should all be thin. Now, there's this whole thing now with body shaming. I don't body shame anybody who's overweight. I don't tell them they're not beautiful, but they're not healthy.
Exactly.
And it
Exactly.
doesn't matter if your doctor says, oh, you're healthy. I
Yeah.
have many clients and I'm like, I tell them to lose weight and they're like, but my doctor told me I'm fine. I'm like, he's wrong and you need to lose weight. I don't care.
Exactly.
Don't,
Yeah.
what is
It's
he? He's not in healthcare. He's in sick care.
And I always would say that the best doctors are going to be the doctors that learn about natural medicine, that learn about diet and nutrition, and that want to help their patient be well, like, because then they're going to get referrals. It's like there's some doctors out there that perhaps they're trained with the drug, giving the drugs and all these things.
Into 7 hours of their GMATs are on drugs. 7 hours are on prescriptions.
Yeah.
Not even on medicine, on helping. It's on medicine.
Yeah. Yep.
The Rockefeller Foundation is why we're in the mess we are, because they put a stop to all the naturopathic colleges that were sprouting up in America. And when they created the American Medical Association, they put the naturopathic schools out of business. That's the only reason we don't know about it, because it happened over 100 years ago. And now, hello. Hi there.
Show you Lucky. He's just being restless. So I'm like,
Name?
Lucky.
Hey, Lucky.
Lucky. He loves to sit at the table. Being Black, I look around and I'm like, where is he? Where's Lucky? We're like, and he's sitting on the black chair and I can't see him because he's sitting at the kitchen table.
Black cat, I know.
Yeah. So that's so interesting. And yeah, I could go on and talk about this stuff forever. So would it be, let's see, I want you to share exactly where everybody can find you and what you're offering. And I think you have a podcast too. Is that correct?
I haven't, I'm in the process of starting one, but I haven't started a podcast yet.
Okay.
I do weekly live calls for my students. So everybody who breathes with me gets to come on a call weekly and we all discuss breathing and health and
Beautiful.
life. Right. So people can find me by going on quantumfitnessorg. I named my business Quantum Fitness because oxygen gives you energy. It carries a positive electron. So you're stimulating that quantum reality with oxygen. So it's quantumfitness.org. And then my email is quantumfitnessorg@gmail.com. And then most people find me through Instagram. My Instagram channel is breath_verse, VERSE.
That's amazing, Bryan.
And then I do a 30-day beginner breathing program that's automated, but I don't get to assess people. So you buy the program, you get to keep the videos for life, you get to join the community for life, but you have to do the breathing on your own. And then after the program, people usually want to work with me for 6 months. And then some people just bypass the program and work with me for 6 months. So then I have a 6-month program that I offer. And then, of course, I also train people one-on-one, which of course would be more expensive because it's one-on-one. So those are really the 3 best ways to work with me.
Okay, wonderful. We'll put the links in the show notes, and it's been an amazing conversation. But so can you share what you will be eating the rest of today? You showed me what you're going to break your fast with. What else is next for the rest of the day?
Well, I typically eat more than twice. I eat 3 times a day. Twice doesn't really work for me because, it's funny. I'm still addicted to food. Food is an addiction because we are natural breatharians. People don't know this. There are many people in the world who don't eat or drink. Many. And there are very high level beings in the mountains of India and China, and they're called sannyasas. And they've been alive for millennia. And they're here to keep the vibration of the planet high so we don't allow the Luciferian death cult to take over the world. And but they live in caves. They're not part of society. They can't be. They're on such a high vibration, like Babaji, Yogananda's guru's guru. People have met Babaji. Babaji's been alive for hundreds and hundreds of years. So if you want to attain the highest level, you don't put food in your body. You wean off of it. But you have to wean off of it because if you immediately go cold turkey, you'll die. You will die. You can't just think, oh, I can just fast and I'll be fine. No, most likely you'll die because your body is used to the food and your body will break down. It'll be too drastic. So for me, I'll eat 3 times a day. I'm going to have cantaloupe now. I'm going to have a watermelon in about 3 hours. And then 3 hours later, I'll either have bananas with blueberries, or I might have avocado. When I feel hungry, I'll have avocado at night because it's got more fat in it. So it stops the detox. I try to stay away from the fattier fruits, but sometimes I feel like I need to eat denser food. And it usually is because I'm vibrating so high that I feel a little bit uneasy. Not bad, but uneasy. And when I eat a denser food, I kind of become more grounded.
Got it. That's
Doesn't mean
amazing.
it's
I love it. I love it.
that I'm more able to be calmer.
Wow, that's great. Do you have a morning practice that you do, like spiritual, or do you have anything else that I know you're doing so much that's like keeping you high vibe, keeping you healthy, keeping you grounded, but is there anything else, journaling, meditating? Is there anything else that you would want to share that you personally do, prayer?
Yeah. Well, before I get out of bed, I start to do my gratitude practice. And I thank God for everything I have. I thank myself for making the right decisions. I praise myself. And then I start a little tiny breathing practice while I'm in bed. It's called many small breath holds, just to flood my brain with oxygen. And then I get up and I pee. And I usually defecate because as a fruitarian, I don't need to do anything in the morning. I got to go to the bathroom. And I never used to experience that. So I immediately defecate. And then I sit and I meditate for an hour. I'm usually ready to come out of meditation about an hour later. And I do it by slowing down my breathing. So I focus on breathing. I don't do the Maharishi technique or the transcendental meditation. All I do is focus on my breath. And then I can usually sit pretty still for an entire hour. And what that does is it slows my brain waves down. It keeps my brain in theta. So from being asleep and being in those higher dimensions, if I breathe for an hour, I can keep that brainwave state throughout the day. So it keeps me calmer. I'm not triggered by stress. When stress arises, I find solutions for it. And then after I meditate, I actually do a harder breathing practice. And then I work out.
And what kind of workout are you doing?
I do rotational type movements. So I don't do any linear lifting. Again, I'm not trying to build muscle. I'm not trying to necessarily get stronger. So everything I do is rotational. I move with progressive loads through space.
Wow. Very cool. Well, this has been a beautiful conversation. Hopefully there'll be more conversations like
Yeah, I
this.
love talking about
I would love it. So what are you up to in Utah?
Well, the man who owns Ascended Health has become a good friend of mine. I've been on the product for 6.5 years. So I've been on the product for way longer than I've been breathing and doing the fruitarianism. And I started commenting to the people at his place how much changes I had, and he wanted to talk to me. So then I got a very famous client of mine who's an actor. He played Jesus in The Passion. And we had a three-way conversation, and we started to become close. And then he asked me to start training him because he could see the difference in my body and how I was presenting myself. Because
Oh,
he uses scalar wave technology. So they capture the frequencies of blue whales giving birth. And nurse dolphins spin around these whales and they ping them with high frequency sounds. So they have a machine that captures the frequencies and then they infuse it in the marine phytoplankton. So he said it was the phytoplankton that attracted he and I together because we're both on it. So
mm.
consciousness brought us together. And now I train him, I teach him breathing. And now he and his family are in Hawaii. And he invited me to stay in Utah to be in the mountains because he knows I like to breathe. So now I'm at their house.
What a beautiful manifestation that you had. Yeah, that's great. So can you share how old you are just to
Oh, sure.
how young you are actually?
Right. Good catch. Yeah, I'm 53. I turned 53 in July. And people that haven't seen me, especially during COVID, they look at me and they go, "Oh my God." I mean, I literally have people saying, "Oh my God, you look younger. What are you doing?" And I tell them what I'm doing. And then they go, "I can't do that." They go, "You look great, but I can't do that."
I hate that when people say that out loud. I remember a friend's aunt, we were at her place and something about ice cream and she was like basically saying she couldn't not have it or something. It was some kind of I don't like when people speak that into the universe. It's like such an unempowering statement, you know?
True, but the ice cream lives inside of her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything turns to bacteria. So
Yeah.
whatever you're eating is living inside of you. And that's why you crave it. It's not your free will. It's
Yeah.
because
I
bacteria.
into yeah. I was just gonna say, and I was eating that way. I mean, not ice cream, but I knew there was something in my body craving things. So I intuitively got myself some juice. We have a place here locally called Crop Juice, and it's phenomenal. It's expensive, but it's, fabulous and fresh. And I did the juicing and the cravings when, it's detox. I chose. And then today I went back again and got some other things. It's all gluten-free, vegan, the entire place and juice. But anyway, I know that is exactly what you're saying, that the inside it's craving, like when people, your body's craving things.
Yeah. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as expensive food either,
Yeah.
because if it's healing you and nurturing you, then it's worth it.
Exactly. It's medicine. I literally say that when I'm there. And the owner is a former oncology nurse. And that is why I'm going to get her on my podcast. I got her number today. I've met her multiple times, but her and her husband created this crop juice. They have 3 locations now. It's phenomenal, and it's all juice, from the killing cancer with juice. It's all proof. There's proof.
Yeah. Well,
So,
wait. You don't kill cancer. Cancer is a manifestation of acidosis. So what you do is you rebalance the pH of the body, and the body removes the acids. We all have cancer inside of us. It's actually your body's defense mechanism, but then it becomes uncontrollable because the acids and the complex sugars are, or the simple sugars are feeding the acid. It's not that it takes over your body. It's that you become so oxidized that there's no more oxygen left, so the acids just take over.
yeah, I've heard of this as well, that we all have the cancer cells in the body. It's about keeping them at bay, or, having them
Yeah.
grow.
We all have viruses inside of us. You
Yeah.
have 380 million inside of you right now. To say we need to be afraid of one is a blatant lie.
Have you heard of you're either feeding disease or you're feeding your health? I forget how it goes, but it's like when you eat, you're either feeding the disease or you're feeding, I don't know what the other word is,
I've
but
heard that, but that's not how it is. You're either creating the blood to be acidic or alkaline. And either of those means without oxygen. And without oxygen leads to inflammation. And if there's inflammation, that leads to what we call dis-ease.
right,
Only
dis-ease.
one disease, and it's acidosis. And unfortunately, it comes from your subconscious. Everything that you manifest that is bad is in your brain, and
Right.
it's trauma. So people
Trauma.
are like, you telling me I made myself sick? And I'm like, well, I don't want to say it like that, but yes.
Right. No,
The
it's true.
chemical
That's why I
vibration.
got sick, and we could talk forever. I got sick. It was the worst thing in the world, but it was also a blessing in disguise, because I am who I am today because of it. I was taken down financially, physically, and emotionally
Yeah,
about 2011 and 2012, and then I discovered what it was, and the long story short is it took me 4 years. I healed with multiple
great.
ways. Yeah, and ultimately, it was a blessing in disguise, like most things that are bad. And, that's a whole another story, but I just love talking to you, Bryan. It's so good to meet you, and I'm so grateful that you are so generous with your time and your knowledge to share all of this with us. I'm going to put your links, quantumfitness.org, and the other links into the show notes, and I hope we stay in touch.
Yes, definitely. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Bryan. Thank you so much.